I'm here with Elliott to talk about what the Trust has done over the last couple of months and over the season, really. So, Elliott, things are going on behind the scenes. 12 months ago, all sorts of carry on, the new management. Do you want to take us through what happened over the last year?
Yeah, so I mean, it's hard to believe it's just 12 months actually, and 12 months is an extraordinarily long time in football. As the number of things that have happened kind of give evidence to. I think we are just over a year now of the new ownership of the football club, and when they came in, that was off the back of 5 years of let's be honest, disastrous ownership, where a football club that was already arguably in disrepair had effectively been completely dismantled. They inherited a club that was on its knees, and they've started to go about putting something back in place that gives us a structure once again. For the Trust, that gave us an opportunity to engage. We've always been about engagement. At the point where people were organising protests, we always stayed on the periphery whilst we supported the notion that the previous owner should go. We always stayed on the periphery, preferring dialogue. And I think that's proved the right thing to do, because we've now established that dialogue with the new regime, and I think that's something that we continue to believe in, is that ongoing dialogue gives us a platform to give people a voice.
How have you built that dialogue with them?
We've been very, very pointed to be professional, to be courteous, but to be open and honest. We've been very open and honest with the new regime, and I think we've built a relationship that's built on mutual respect. We've shown them that our interests are not personal on any level. Our interests are in furthering the voice of the fans and specifically of the members of the Trust. And I personally have no issue if I have to go and give a view to the board that doesn't match my own views. My role is to get the view of the fan base across, of the member base, and if that means going and delivering messages that talk about something where my view is perhaps opposing, that's absolutely fine, and that's what I'm here to do. And I think that transparency is something that the club's hierarchy respect, and we've been able to build a very personable but very professional relationship off the back of that.
So Nicholas Randall's written to members, I think, a couple of times this season. What was your reaction to that?
Personally, I thought the content of those communications was music to the ears of many supporters. I think for a number of fans, they perhaps found them a little wordy, but I think that's perhaps necessary in the context if you think about the number of things that are to be addressed and the seriousness of some of the things that were being addressed. I think that one thing that's important to put across is that the club are very, very keen to be judged on actions and don't want to be seen to be constantly making promises in any level of football, on the pitch or off the pitch, is topsy-turvy. Things change all the time, and they don't want to make promises that are then picked apart by the media. They want to deliver actions and be judged on those, and I think that's why you perhaps don't see the constant kind of communication that some fans perhaps crave but would then be used against them.
Tell us about the survey the Trust done.
Yeah, so we did a survey and intend to do further surveys to really kind of get into what do supporters find in terms of the match day experience, what are their initial thoughts around what it's like to go to Forest on a match day, as well as some other stuff around understanding the demographics of the Trust itself, so that we could start to look at growing that demographic. Off the back of that, we were able to have some really, really positive dialogue with the club. They were really appreciative of that feedback, and I think what's key to them is that we were able to present to them, albeit smaller than their season ticket holder base, a very, very committed group of supporters that will give them very in-depth answers and very I guess it's a more concentrated sample size where they can really trust the feedback that they're getting.
So you're obviously building up or you want to build up a close relationship with the board, with the club. How do you think that can go forward next season?
I think we'll continue to build on the memorandum of understanding that we signed. That will give us the structure within which to have regular, constant dialogue that will give us the structure of those meetings. I think really what we want to do is start to, I guess, progress that two-way dialogue so that there's more taking the feelings of the member base and presenting that to the board and being able to do that two ways. So we talked before about Nicholas writing a couple of letters to the fan base. I'd like to think that we could fill some of that void where the fans perhaps feel they don't get all the snippets of information. We can perhaps provide that bridge to give that two-way dialogue some additional traffic, if you like, and I think there's an opportunity there for us to help.
And what about Forest Ladies in all this?
So the work that the club have done with Forest Ladies is really an example of where they are starting to put Forest back at the heart of the community. I think Forest Ladies, for those that don't really understand how that worked before, they were essentially sharing a badge and little else. They were a separate entity, and whilst legally they may continue to be a separate entity, they are under now the Forest banner you'll see the match reports on the Forest website. They're essentially treated as another piece of the football club rather than this ancillary operation. We sponsor a player, Grace, and we chose to do that because we thought it represented what the trust was about diversity, about inclusiveness, and about Forest becoming something for the community again, about more than just first team match day.
What's your thoughts on Supporters Direct and the sort of the relationship with that?
So Supporters Direct are essentially the umbrella organisation. Supporters Direct gave us a huge amount of help when we first set up the trust, in giving us the operating model, giving us a lot of material that allowed us to get the trust up and running, advice on dealing with the FCA. So ultimately Supporters Direct are almost like our union, if you like, our kind of umbrella organisation. They organise a whole host of events. We had several members at an event this weekend, a members' day where other trusts share ideas. So we start to share ideas with trusts that have perhaps done things that we would like to do. We can similarly do the same with other trusts. That we've got a lot of interest at the moment in what we've done with the Memorandum of Understanding. So there's opportunities there for us within that network to get much more dialogue. And it's this kind of football community thing, if you like. It's an opportunity for us to share ideas and really forward the voice of supporters across the board at a national level, not just at a club level.
So what's exciting about next season?
I think next season gives us an opportunity really to see the first kind of building blocks that the new regime have put in place to come to fruition. I think, if we talk a little bit about on the pitch, I think Aita Karanka is a manager of serious pedigree that knows what he wants to do, ruthless but also very driven. I think he has embedded himself in what it means to be manager of Nottingham Forest, what it means to be a resident of Nottingham, regularly seen out and about around the city, happy to talk to fans. And Middlesbrough fans will tell you that he embedded himself in that football club as well. He knows what it means to be a manager of a particular football club. And I think that's got to be exciting. And we've got to look forward to a place where the Championship is topsy-turvy. You never really know whether you're going to have a standout season. I think, you look at the clubs that went up this season and look at where they finished last season. That should give everybody hope that you just never know what's going to happen. And for once, we might be able to have a season where we're looking forward rather than backwards.
So how can members of the Trust get involved?
So there's multiple ways members of the Trust can get involved. Obviously, we send out regular communications and ask for ad hoc dialogue. If people want to come back to us and email us at any time, they can get in touch and tell us their thoughts or feelings. A particular event happens that they want to tell us about, absolutely no problem. We do regular surveys and we encourage them to feedback on that. There's also the opportunity to get involved on a more permanent level, if I can put it that way. We're always looking for people to join us, for people to either become part of our working groups where there's opportunities to get involved without standing for a board position, or longer term whether people want to actually stand for a board position and get involved on a board level where there's opportunities to really get involved with the day-to-day running of the trust. And that's a big time commitment, but I believe the rewards for that are also quite great.
We're sitting beneath Brian Clough. What does that mean to you?
It means a huge amount, to be honest. My memories probably aren't as great as everybody's of Brian, because I'm a little bit too young to remember the real glory years, but it's still embedded in me that Brian is a massive reason that we have a football club to be proud of. He's a massive reason that we have a football club that still garnered interest despite being on the brink of administration, the brink arguably of extinction. It's because of what Brian did. Brian gave Forest and gave football a belief that miracles can happen. And I think we, as a trust, it's incumbent upon us and as a wider fan base and people that remember Brian or have an understanding of what Brian did for this football club, it's absolutely incumbent upon us to teach the next generation so they can teach the next generation, because really keeping Brian alive in any sense is essential to the future of what our football club means.
Elliott, thanks very much.